Hi, it's James Harrison. I'm here today to talk to you about a snare drum I have. It's by Grover Pro Percussion. It is the Eqlipse Dual Apex snare drum. It's an amazing snare drum. Probably one of the most unique snare drums I have, and I wanted to talk about it today. What it is a 10-ply cross-laminated maple shell, and it's got two parts of the shell and then a metal ring. This metal ring is also inside, so that helps give you a little bit of that bite, that metallic cut to it, but the wood gives you the warmth and a little bit of a drier sound. What's unique about this drum is the top half of it, when you take the head off, will come off and turn over. And you have a rounded bearing edge on one side, and then like a sharp 45-degree bearing edge on the other side, a double 45. It also has a trick style throw off, like that, nice and smooth. It also has a little gauge on top. It's kind of notched, so you can tighten and loosen the snares in addition to just turning them off and on pretty easily, and they hold their spot. This particular drum has the Grover snare wires, which are always super sensitive because they're not coiled up like a spring. It's more like a guitar string almost. And then we have the kind of like a butterfly type lug, a tube lug, but there are casings inside there, so they're not one solid piece, which is great. And then again, this drum has a Remo Diplomat head on the bottom. I use Diplomat on most of my snares unless I'm playing a super loud bashing type gig, because I feel like those heads are more sensitive. But I wanted to shoot a video about this drum today. And so what I'm going to do, right now it is on the 45-degree bearing edge inside. And I'm going to play the drum. It's a phone recording, so it may be a little loud. I'm just going to do a little buzz roll. I have a mesh head on this bass drum down here, but kind of a cross stick sound. That's kind of a medium type tuning. There's no muffling whatsoever in here. I'm going to take this Vader Buzzkill, throw it on here really quick, just to take off a little of the bite so it'll be better on the phone. Okay, so there's the 45 side. Nice cut, nice thing. I'm going to tune it up really quickly, a little higher, just to give you a little bit more of an idea of what the, I guess if you wanted to use it for a funk or a 311 type snare sound. So take it up and pick. Okay, so this is going to be quite a bit higher. This is still with that piece of gel on there. Okay, no muffling. A little bit of a ring. Type rim shot. I get that, my funk. Right in the middle, turn it over for a rock. Again, if I was miking this, I would probably have a little, anytime you throw a piece of gel on something, you're going to get a little bit of a deeper tone because it's going to drop the pitch slightly. So there it is with the 45. So what I'm going to do now, it's a nice bright sound. I'm going to take this down quite a bit really quickly. Now typically, if I was going to play this drum using the 45-degree side, I probably wouldn't tune the drum on the lower side because I would want to have that brightness. I'd want to take advantage of that and use the drum in a medium to a tight setting. But, just to show you what you can do with it, I'm going to kind of tune it down quickly before I take off the head. So this is going to be kind of that low, almost like that. I want to tighten the snares a little bit. That's lower than I would actually use it, but I can still get a little bit of a cut out of that. So if I wanted to have that kind of sound, I could do it. So what I'm going to do for you really quickly is I'm going to take this drum, I'm going to take the head off. Unfortunately, on this phone video, I don't know how to, let me turn my head around really quickly so you can see my face, I guess. I don't know how to speed up or cut out this section without cutting out the whole video. I guess that kind of shows my a little bit of my ignorance when it comes to the technology. The reason I'm wearing a hat is because I haven't had a haircut in a while, and I'm getting that flip outs all over the place and whatnot. So I'm sure everybody's going through the same situation, and I hope everybody's safe and doing well during these trying times here. So anyway, give me 1 second and I'll get this off. I usually, sometimes if I was on a gig situation, I use these marching keys a lot because I can do that. And it speeds up the process quite a bit. And I don't fumble around for the key. Sometimes I use a Remo key and I put in it's got a top on it that you can put into a cordless drill or a cordless screwdriver, and just to speed up that process. But usually if I'm playing a gig, I always have a backup snare sitting around anyway. So anyway, I'm going to get all these out. Okay, so first off, when I put a drum head on, I guess maybe you can say I'm a little bit crazy about this. I like to put the logo where the badge is. So the badge on the drum is up here in the front, so I like to put the logo on the head there. And then when I change a head or whatever, I like to keep track of where that hoop is. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to set this leaning against something, but I'm going to put that same opening, what it's leaning on, so I don't want to put it back. I'm putting the hoop in the same spot because I feel like they kind of wear a certain way. So Remo ambassador head. All right, so here's what's unique about this drum. The top comes off. You can flip it over. It's got a bearing edge on one side, a different bearing edge on the other. So you can see maybe, I don't know, I took a little Sharpie and wrote like 45, and then I wrote vintage, which is more rounded. The reason I did that is because if I ever was in a situation where I couldn't see very well, I could still see that without having to try to inspect the bearing edges. So I'm going to set this down for 1 second and pick this drum up to show you what this is. So it's kind of like a Saturn type situation where you have this ring that goes around the drum. So again, you have the maple, you have the metal, then you have the maple again, and you have the ability to switch that and get a brighter sound or a darker sound. I'm not talking about pitch. Obviously, we could tune the drum to any pitch we want. I'm talking about the cut and the carry that it has. One is just a little bit more of a mellow sound, which is cool that you get all that out of one snare drum. So nothing is mounted to that top hat. So there's basically what it is. And there's a tray, and this will sit inside that tray, and then you put the head back on. So I'm going to put it back in the tray up here in the basket. And again, I've got the V. So now I'm going to put the V facing up and set it in the tray. And I also, there's a way I typically do this where I try to kind of get the seams to lap a certain way. All right, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to put my logo head back on. I put the logo opposite of the bottom logo, which I know is where the badge is. Again, I picked the rim up in the same place I had it, so then I put that in the same space. You don't have to do all that. I just kind of feel like it's, once you use the drum a lot, the rim kind of sits a certain way. I have to probably credit John Baldwin at Boise State for turning me on to that. He always was he'd take a marker and mark where the rim was, or should be when he put it back on. So anyway, I put these on, and I have to say this quickly about tube lugs. These inserts have some play in them, you can see like that, but most tube lugs don't have that, and you have to be very careful when threading it. If you misthread it and tune it down, you screwed up an entire tuning lug, and you have to replace the entire thing. I usually don't recommend anything that's tube lugs for schools, but this drum, because there's inserts inside here, they're okay. And then I'm going to take this key and spin it, and I basically go to a point where I meet, when I start to meet the resistance and it doesn't want to turn freely on its own. So you have to bear with me on that. Sorry I can't speed it up on the video to make it quicker. but I can do it pretty quickly. And again, so now I made a post on the Grover website, a statement or an endorsement, if you will, for Neil, that basically said, this is the drum you'll literally flip over. And what I mean by that is you literally take the head off, flip it over, and you get a different drum. So it's 2 in 1 in a lot of different ways, the way I look at it. I don't know if it's still on the market, but I'm sure there's some out there. But like I said, I people who follow me on Facebook know that I have quite a extensive collection of snare drums, and I have to say, out of some of the crazy ones that I have and whatnot, this is one of the most unique drums that I have, just because of this type of feature. I'm not talking about the metal, wood, metal. I'm talking about the ability to turn the top half of the drum over and have a different bearing edge. So it's definitely unique in that sense. So now what I'm doing is I'm just going around and making sure that I'm to the point where the key is meeting the rim. A lot of people will call that finger tight. I'll go ahead and go around now and just check with the fingers. So this drum is going to be very, very low. I'm going to, I have the snares tight. I'm going to turn so that's pretty much as low as it gets. Not even useful, because if I push down, you can hear that I see some wrinkles. So I'm going to go around and I'm just going to give it a half turn. I get to the point where I meet resistance, half turn. Okay. And I never do giant turns when I tune a drum. I never do it. I always do quarter turns, half turns, and go around. I'm not one of those people that does 3-4 spins at a time. I see people who do that. Okay, so it's pretty low. I'm going to throw this gel on. Well, I'll do it without that first. So very, very low. So if I was going to, again, go for that 80s low, then I have that. So quickly now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead now and do another half turn. And that's going to kind of get me into a medium to low range on this drum. And again, I would actually spend a little bit more time checking each lug and lug screw to make sure the pitch is even all the way around, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just trying to get it to that point for right now. So I don't know if you can tell on the phone or not. I'm going to take the gel off for a minute. It's a little bit of a darker sound. Snares more. So if I was going to use this side, I would probably definitely have the drum in its mid to lower range, but okay, gel back on. All right. So I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to do a little quarter turn really quick. Take it up a little higher. Give it more of that rock crack or that nice funk crack. Just to show that you can still do it with this side. And it's just what it's actually going to do. I can still do the same pitch that I had on the other side. But what I'm really doing is I'm getting the attack, just a little bit of that brightness cutting back. So I get a nice funk sound. I'll take the gel off. You can hear the drum. Snares really, really loose for a minute. wanted to do New Orleans type thing, I'll throw the gel on there. Alright, it's very loose. I'm going to still pretty loose. Okay, I'm kind of liking that sound. Good, a little tighter. Too tight because I feel like there's a point where the snares will choke out. But basically, I just wanted to quickly show you this drum and how cool it is and what you can do with it. Again, this is the vintage side, so it's a little bit darker in tone than the other side, which was the double 45 bearing edge. Again, by Grover Pro Percussion. If you ever find them, they're really cool. I would definitely recommend it. Nice trick style throw off with the notch snare, so I could turn it, and it kind of every quarter turn it kind of locks into a little different position. They give me a lot of play over the snares. So check that drum out. It's really cool. And I highly recommend it. Thanks.